Hello and welcome back to Guinea Something Good behind the scenes. Before we get started, I just thought I'd address the new camera that I'm using. I forgot to mention it in the last video, and I just wanted to thank my brother. He lent me his old camera that is much higher quality than the iPhone I was using. So that's why, if you've noticed the image quality is better, that's why. So today's episode, we will be looking at the beginnings of an animation I'm working on. And this animation is going to be a completely silent animation. That is, no dialogue. There will be music and sound effects. And the animation style will be very different from the dialogue-driven series, and I'm hoping to develop this into kind of a side series that updates infrequently but regularly. So yeah, let's just get started with the video and then I'll talk more about it. Alright, so yeah, the sort of the premise of this series of animations is going to be that it's sort of like very simple drawings come to life, kind of like little sketchbook doodles. And the design of this version of Joe actually comes from how I draw Joe and George and any guinea pig character when I'm writing my comics in a sketchbook. I draw these very simple, like triangle shaped people. And the reason I do that in the sketchbook is just it's fast. It doesn't need to be a good drawing. I'm just trying to jot down what character is saying what, if there's any kind of emotion they're expressing. So this triangular version, and you know, the one I'm drawing here is more complicated than what I would draw in my sketchbook, but this sort of triangle person is just a very fast way to jot down which characters where, what they're doing, what they're expressing, and it makes it very quick to kind of sketch out a comic strip. Because I do find it's much easier to write for me if I can write and draw at the same time. Just like writing in a blank document, I don't know. It's not. I have to see the characters interacting. Otherwise, the ideas don't really come to me. So it's sort of a writing, sketching process when I'm writing comics. So here, what I was doing was I'm trying to figure out what this character is going to look like in this animated series and kind of come up with a template. So these are all variations on that sort of sketchbook drawing that I have, but as I said, more complicated than what I would actually draw in a sketchbook, only slightly more complicated. And my idea was that I like the idea that I could have sort of a separate side series that was without any dialogue, purely driven by animation. And if the style was simple enough that I could actually animate it frame by frame, that is, drawing every single frame one at a time, and really create pure animations. That's the trick. The trick with animating is I love animation, and I really love frame by frame animation. And I get to do that with the game, and that's probably the best version of animation that I get to do is the game animation, because it is the most elaborate and it's the most complete, and it's the most professional. It really pushes me to make it as professional as I possibly can. So that's a good outlet for that style of animation. But I also sort of wanted to make little animated shorts that were frame by frame. And the problem is that if you do it in a very elaborate style, or even not that elaborate, just a style that requires sketching characters, then it just takes a long time. For example, the 2.5 minute short, Right in Time, took me 6 months solid of animating, and that was a frame by frame hand-drawn animation. So obviously you can't spend 6 months on 2.5 minutes and have any kind of sustainable schedule. So that's why for the main series I use objects, which allows me to more quickly animate. I can still use the principles of animation, but not have to spend all my time drawing each frame. So with this style, and here I'm animating the clock, and so you can see already why it's faster, because normally what I would be doing is I would be sketching the clock in like pencil, and then I would ink on top of the pencil, and then I would color it. And when you do that, you are able to create a more three-dimensional looking drawing. But the downside, of course, is that it takes a lot longer. So here I'm able to go straight to inking and focus more on the pure animation. And a benefit of this style is that it allows for more exaggeration. So when you're animating even a cartoony look, but it's has more depth and has more three-dimensional quality to it, it does become harder to exaggerate. I mean, you can exaggerate, but my favorite example of this is if you watched old Mickey Mouse cartoons. Like there's a gag where Mickey pulls the tail of the cow, and the cow's head gets pulled into his body. And the reason that gag works is because the tail and the neck are exactly the same width and are basically one continuous line. And that joke wouldn't work if the cow wasn't as simply drawn as it was in that short. So the simplicity of drawing actually allows for goofier gags and more visual gags. So I'm hoping that that's what I'll be able to do with this series. And as you can see with Drawing Joe here, it's so simple to draw this drawing here. There's about 5 lines to drawing Joe's body, and that's another aspect that's really important. When you're trying to draw something that describes depth, it takes so many lines and it takes so many tries on those lines, because if you get the line wrong, it loses its believability. And with a drawing this simple, what matters isn't believability. What matters is just a basic consistency. And if there's only 5 lines, that consistency is very easy to achieve. So already you can see an example here with the nose. That nose is dragging back to the previous frame and it's bending. And that's something that a nose wouldn't do. A nose is solid and stiff from the bones underneath. But because of how simple this drawing is, you can bend that nose and it creates a very cool animated quality. So this style really allows for pure animation, that I can just kind of have fun and experiment with animation. And that's the end of that video. Next time we'll get into the next part of animating this particular animation. But anyway, it is a bit of an experiment. I'm not sure how long it'll end up taking. It might be something that I'm only able to do every once in a while, but it's something that I think would be cool to have as sort of a side series, in addition to the main dialogue-driven series. So yeah, keep a lookout for that. Hopefully that will be coming out soon. And next time we will delve further into the process of animating it. All right, see you next time.